Hi, this is Mariam. I work as a product marketing associate at Netcore Cloud, and this is our second episode in the series Cracking App User Retention. In the previous video, we did talk about how the most successful apps are those that are habit forming, and that's exactly how they're able to drive away the retention problem. The reason why we focus on building habits is because once you're able to do so, it won't take much effort to get back users to the app because they're already convinced about your app's value proposition and they look at your app as a go-to solution. So let's hold on to that thought and dig a little deeper into your user's mind and discover those core tenets of building habit loops that make your app a part of the user's daily workflow. So, where do we start? Well, we'll take a lot of inspiration from the hook model proposed by Neil Rayal in his best-selling book Hooked: How to Build Habit-Forming Products. There are 4 parts of forming a hook. It all starts with a trigger. It could be external like an email or a notification, and it could be internal, which is associated with the user's mind. Now, the external triggers are extremely important in getting a user to the app, but that's not the only thing that apps need to focus on. To keep users engaged for a longer time, it's the internal triggers that make all the difference. You want your users to use your app as an automatic response to the trigger. For instance, if you're bored, you check out Facebook or Instagram, or if you're curious about something, you go to Google. Now, moving on, the next obvious step is for users to perform an action in response to that trigger. Now, there are 2 things to note here. One is the user needs to be motivated, and second, the user should be able to perform an action. For instance, keeping a simple sign-up process on your app makes it easier for users to start off with the app. Or if you're nudging your users and guiding them to key features and equipping them with the know-how of the app, it again adds to a user's motivation and ability to perform a relevant action. The third part of the hook is the rewards. Now, people use an app because they expect to derive some benefit out of it. And this benefit is basically the reward. On a very basic level, it could mean something as simple as scrolling through social media to get away with the feeling of boredom, or going to Google to learn something new. But there is a catch here. These rewards are actually exciting when they are variable and users expect to be surprised in some way. Putting it in simpler terms, if you're scrolling through Pinterest, you know that you'll come across some image, but you don't know what it is, and that's exactly what adds to the entire excitement of scrolling through Pinterest. And lastly, it's the investment. Now, the trigger, action, and reward are the building blocks of forming an habit, but it's the investment that fuels this entire habit-forming behavior in users. Every app requires a user to invest in it, maybe in the form of effort, like feeding in data for a personalized experience. While an app should not be heavy on investment, but it needs to have investment to a certain extent so that users feel more vested in the app and they stick to the app for a longer time. And this is how these 4 essential parts form the entire habit loop. So, these are the 4 parts of forming a hook. All in all, the idea is to get users to use your app with no conscious thought. It's something that should come as a very natural reaction to them. And that's when you know you've been able to successfully create a habit that arrests retention and drives long-term growth for your app. On this note, we come to an end for this video, but do stay tuned in as our next video will cover one of the most crucial stages of the entire user journey, that is user onboarding and activation, and how you can create an experience that ties back to your retention.